Here. Okay, so every week I wonder which teaching to do. I wasn't sure, but yesterday, Yafa and I and my kids, we all went to New York, and our high school age kids had a production for Bnos Menachem, and it was an incredible, incredible story. And my two daughters are sitting next to me, kept looking at me to see if I'm crying, there were definitely tears. And it was such a moving story that story compelled me to teach this teaching. So in very, very short, the story takes place in Mitzrayim. And of course, we know that all the mothers, they had 6 babies at a time. And the scene is, the mother goes out and she leaves the son and the daughter to watch the 6 babies, and Egyptian soldiers storm in, and the brother and the sister each grab 2 babies, but the Egyptians grab the other 2 babies, and they're going to use them for Paro's blood bath. And the mother comes in and they're crying. They're so sad that, and in the meantime, the father, he's doing slave labor, and he comes home for a visit, and he feels so bad. If only I would have been here, I could have saved the babies. And these Egyptian soldiers go to the palace to get the reward that they're supposed to get for bringing these babies. And they come to the palace. I guess they come to, maybe after hours, and there's no guard there to give them the money. So they leave the babies, and they're going to go look for the guard to take the babies and get their money. And in the meantime, an Egyptian nobleman is walking by, and he sees the babies, and he's childless, and his wife, he's always looking to bring home stuff for his wife. His wife is bored of everything, decides he's going to take one of these babies. He takes one of the babies, and because no one was watching them, and he goes home and he tells his wife, "Look what I brought you." And first she's very excited, and then she's like, "This is crazy. What are we going to say? It's against the law to take a Hebrew baby." So they make up a story that it's their niece, and they raise this baby. They call her Naila, and they raise her as an Egyptian girl. And she even and whenever she goes outside and she sees she sees the Jews being slaves, she feels like it's so unfair, and her Pintalayid, is obviously screaming, and they tell her, you can't talk like this. Anyway, she even gets a slave. She's all of 14 years old. She even gets a slave to serve her, and the mother is like, you should beat her and tell her what to do. And she's like, so she's treating the slave like a sister. Anyway, then the Makos come, and she is not affected by the Makos. Comes blood. Everyone else has blood, and she has water. Comes Makos Arev, and they know that she's not going to be affected by it. They needed medicine. They sent her out to go and get it because lions were out there, and they knew that she would be protected. And then comes Makas.
Did she know she was Jewish?
So she's wondering.
That's true.
Maybe it's based on true facts. I don't know. It could have happened. Why couldn't?
Based on the
It could have happened.
Like the best, could have happened there. Right, because this could have happened there. It's very
And the whole thing of kidnapping the babies, like it makes it like a very, very, 2025.
Because I think about this was a time that these things probably would have happened.
Yeah, it definitely pulls your definitely pulls your strings, your heartstrings.
Right. Okay.
And there comes Makas Chayshach and Naila, her mother and father are both can't move, and she realizes, this is my chance. I'm gonna look through my baby stuff and see if there, if there's any sign of me being Jewish. And her slave actually had a bracelet with her Jewish name on it, and she goes and she looks through her baby stuff, and she finds a bracelet as well with Lamed Aleph with her name Leah. And so it ends up being that this servant ends up being her sister. But you see the inner struggle. She's in the middle of the stage singing, and then you have a balcony on the right and a balcony on the left. On one side is her Egyptian father, and the other side is her Jewish mother. And so she's singing, I don't know where I belong. And they're each saying, for years and years, I wanted to call you daughter. The father wants to call her a daughter, the Egyptian father. But no matter what they do to educate her and teach her music, and she's supposed to go play at Batya's palace, to play the harp at Batya's palace. And then her teacher, the one who teaches her music, is so jealous, and she actually tries to hurt her and ties her up and threatens her. Ultimately, the Jewish girl saves her and she runs away. And she goes to Goshen, but then she goes back to her Egyptian parents, and she goes back to Goshen, and so you see this struggle, who am I and where do I belong? And the reason why this hit home is because you really see this story brought out the essence of this girl. Although she had an Egyptian name and Egyptian clothing and Egyptian education and lifestyle and everything else, she could have chosen that. And then on the other hand, she's a Jewish girl. And you see that conflict. And then before she goes to Goshen for the last time, she runs to her Egyptian mother and gives her like the biggest hug, and then she leaves to her Jewish mother. So you see the essence. You see the essence of the Jewish person coming out, and everything around us is all coverings and coverings and more coverings.
You see it now with the hospital.
Right, that's similar.
Like the
That's
person
the
who's
same
saying
thing.
Shema, never
Right.
anything. Or this woman, I just saw it, she was a Russian person. She decided to come to Eretz Yisrael, but she met a boyfriend and they moved to Ner Oz just because they had nothing. And she just started keeping Shabbos so her kid could come home. And now she's Shabbos observant. And it's just like, where did that come from? It's like even the person who said Shema. He knew
Came from
nothing. He
his-
said, I knew nothing. He didn't say I had a bar mitzvah when I was 13 and I said Shema then. Nothing. And it's just like, where is it? In the air? Like,
It came from, I guess the same with Sichos also make people. This person wouldn't have, I guess, in the first place. So she was taken, and then all the Marcos was she revealed to that, How did they know she was Jewish from the Marcos and that?
They knew from the Makkos because she wasn't affected by the Makkos, and ultimately she had this bracelet, and ultimately her parent, ultimately.
Yeah, but the initial thing was like, has she even wrote the signs? It was like the Hashem bringing the Marcos.
yeah, but she still wanted a Jewish servant. She still had that.
Right,
She had
thing in her.
sympathy or empathy.
She had sympathy, and the Jewish slave, taught her about the Aleph Beis and taught her, Ephraim Pripperchik, on the harp when she was struggling to play the other stuff that she had to play, and it was very, very special. But we're living in this world, and everything that we see. Welcome, Yafa. Everything that we see is covering the truth. But there's this essence that we have to dig for, that isn't usually revealed. And we have to realize that what we see, even all the hardships that we see, everything that's going on that doesn't seem to make sense, we have to realize that these are just coverings and there's something behind it. We're just seeing things at face value, but we have to be able to rip off the mask and rip off the coverings and reveal the essence and reveal Hashem, and realize that we're at the end of this galus, and what we see with our eyes is not what we get. It's not what we see is what we get, but rather that there's the truth and the Eibishter and the miracles. Sometimes they're revealed and sometimes they're concealed, but there's so much more than what meets what meets the surface, than what we see with our eyes, and we shouldn't get fooled. And also you see these, in the play, these Jews, and they're being beaten, and they feel like there's no hope. We'll never get out of here. It's impossible that we'll ever be redeemed. There and of course they try to have bitachon and faith and everything like that, but there's this desperation, like how is this? It's impossible for anything to ever change, and in a way you feel like that as well. There's so much like anti-Semitism and hatred, and why can't the hostages just be freed, and why do we have to pay such a big price, and why does he have to be we have so many questions, and yet we have to understand that this world is oilam lashon helen v'hester. Everything's hidden and concealed, and we don't see the truth, and we don't see always Hashem behind everything. But just because we don't see doesn't mean that Hashem is not there, orchestrating every single thing, every single second of every single day. So, with that inspiration, I chose this teaching. This week's parsha is Tetzaveh. And the parsha of Tetzaveh is usually read in proximity to Zayin Adar, which is the yahrzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu. And in Parshas Tetzaveh, you will not find Moshe's name. You will not find Moshe. In every single parsha, starting from Chumash Shemais, through Shemais, Vayikra Bamidbar, till Devarim, in every single parsha, you'll see Moshe's name. Besides for this parsha. So on one hand, you don't see his name. On the other hand, and the reason why you don't see his name is because since this parsha is close to the time that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, which is Zayin Adar, so there's a connection between the histalkos, the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, which usually implies a histalkos, the passing of a tzaddik, usually implies that something is missing. So therefore, the name Moshe is missing in this parsha. We know that. So because of Chet Egel, Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Erase me from your Torah if you don't forgive the Yidden." And the end is that the Yidden were forgiven. But because when a tzaddik speaks, it's so powerful that everything a tzaddik says has to be fulfilled, so his name had to be erased from one parsha of the Torah. But why specifically this parsha? It could have been any parsha. But the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not in Parshas Tetzaveh is because it's close to proximity to the yahrzeit, which and what we're trying to learn is what is the connection. The question that we're asking is what is the connection between a histalkos, the passing away of Moshe Rabbeinu, and Parshas Tetzaveh. Okay, so on one hand, you don't have Moshe Rabbeinu's name in the parsha, but what do you have? Ve'ata Tetzaveh, and you should command. Who is the you? Moshe is alive and well. Ve'ata Tetzaveh, and you should command. It's talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. And it says ve'asisa, and you should make ve'lakachta, and you should take all these things. It's directly speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu in second person. Hashem is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu. So on one hand, you don't have his name. On the other hand, he's very much there. Yeah. Excellent. That's right. So that's exactly one of the questions. So we're trying to say, oh, there's a stalkos. Thank you so much. There's a stalkos. Something is missing. The name Moshe is missing. However, what do we see? Number one, first of all, ve'ata tetzaveh. He's very much alive. The whole parsha is speaking about him. So he's not really missing. He's alive and well. Number two, when a tzaddik passes away, right? When a tzaddik passes away, his name and everything that he accomplished lives on forever. Only the guf, only the body is gone. Only the guf leaves the world, right? So the passing away of a tzaddik does not erase his name. You can have a tzaddik, any tzaddik that lived 1,000 years ago. And we could talk about him. So the opposite is true. What remains is his name. And point number three is what you're saying, Suri, is when I say you should command is second person, it's direct. Hashem is speaking to Moshe directly. And that is much more powerful than third person. speaking about Moshe Rabbeinu. I could, when you're speaking a third person about someone, that person doesn't have to be present. You could speak about someone that wasn't alive for 1,000 years. When you're speaking about someone. Speaking about someone doesn't make them alive. Speaking to someone means that they're alive. So that's our question. You want to say Parashat Tetzaveh is the week where we're not going to find Moshe's name to show that he passed away and that something is missing. But number one, it's Va'at Tetzaveh. He's very much alive. Who is it speaking about? Va'at Tetzaveh, it's Moshe Rabbeinu. Number two, when there's a stalkos, the name is not what leaves. And number three, when the fact that it's the second person and you should speak means that he's alive. It's not about speaking about someone, it's speaking to someone, then you have to have been there, you have to be there present in a present way. So why is it? So what's going on here? That the week that of his passing, that's the week that his name is not mentioned in the Torah. Okay, so we have to understand what the Zayar says about what happens when a tzaddik passes away. These are the words of the Zayar, and it's actually found in the Tanya as well. And it says, Tzaddika de espatar ishtakach b'chulay olmin yatir mibchayehi, which means that when a tzaddik passes away, he is present in all the worlds, including this physical world, more than during his lifetime. And the fact that he's there more than in his physical lifetime is not he's in this world and in all the worlds more in an infinite way. It's not like you could even measure it with numbers. It's in an infinite way. It can't be quantified in numbers, how much more present a tzaddik is after he passes away. Okay, so what's a tzaddik? A tzaddik embodies emunah, ahava, yira, and when he's alive, he's very, very holy. But his life, his neshama, is embodied. It's inside of a body. It's inside of a keli. It's inside of a container. It's inside of a vessel. And it has to be contracted in order to be inside the body. So when people have a connection to a tzaddik, what are they getting? They're getting a ray. They're getting a ray, a revelation of a revelation that comes from this tzaddik. After he passes away, then this tzaddik's spiritual life is not limited anymore to a specific container. And now we could receive from the tzaddik not just a ray, not just a light, but rather we could receive from the tzaddik's essence after he passes away. That's point number one. Point number one is what we get from the tzaddik. Before, we were only able to get a light, a ray. Now we're able to get from the essence. Think of a sun. The sun has rays. The rays are coming from the sun. They're obviously not as powerful as the sun. They're just a ray. It's a revelation. It's a light that's coming from a source. So when the tzaddik in his lifetime, the people can get a ray, can get a revelation, get a light from his spiritual life. But once he passes away, you could get from his essence, not just a ray. Go ahead.
You can't use the sun anymore. Because now the sun is gone. You know, with a tzaddik, you can get his legacy, so to speak, right? Take the Rebbe, like people are still doing what he really wanted to do, what his job was, take a parent, you know. But the sun, once the sun is gone, you don't get the rays.
Sun gives the light to the moon. The moon gets the light from the sun, right? And the moon lights during the night. So
So, so it's a very good question, but we're learning something brand new. What we're learning is that when a tzaddik passes away, it's not that just they leave a legacy behind and leave a good name and everyone can speak about them and say how wonderful they were. What we're learning from the Zohar is something brand new. What we're learning is that when a tzaddik passes away, he is found in all the worlds and in this world much more. He's infinitely here. He's here much more, and the much more is can't be measured.
Makes sense because you're more spiritual. When you're physical, you're physical.
Right, because
But then when you're good, we're more physical.
you're not limited.
So it makes sense, like in that concept that we're become more of a neshama, like a physical, like so we're able to be more in that. Think about what our
Not
neshamas
limited
are.
by body.
Yeah, a tzaddik is not limited by body. Very simple.
They come down to the chuppah, right? They say the neshamas come down. Let's say if and that right, so that makes like they're physically it's not so easy always, right? They're alive, they could be in a hospital, they could be somewhere they can't.
If you're in a body, you could only be in one place at a time.
They're able to be more physical, like
Did I tell you when I got married, my grandfather came to my wedding? And my grandmother had passed away a few months before, but they didn't tell him because he was too sick. She was in a home for many years. And he comes to the wedding and afterwards he turns to my cousin and he says, "Why didn't you tell me that Bobby passed on?" I actually saw her under the Bible.
Wow.
Yeah, he was very holy person.
that's like that fight. It's like
Yeah.
Wow.
so she was passed away, he wasn't able to sense it. It's like you're saying.
Our grandfather, yes.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's number one. Number one is that the tzaddik is not limited to a body anymore, and therefore we could draw from his essence, not just from his body, but we could get from his essence. Number two, when a tzaddik passes away, his here it says his ruach and his neshama, okay, or maybe nefesh ruach neshama, his neshama goes back to its source, from where it was chiseled from by the Kisei HaKavod. The neshamas are by the Kisei HaKavod. So wherever that neshama came from, by Hashem's Kisei HaKavod, the neshama goes back. The neshama of tzaddik goes back to the source where it came from under the Kisei HaKavod. And that level of the neshama at its source, that's the level that becomes present in the physical world. In all the worlds and even in this physical world.
I mean the neshama after. You say when it comes back.
So not okay. So the neshama came down. The neshama is a spiritual life. It's an incredible, yeah. So when the neshama is in a body, the neshama is a great neshama, spiritual life, incredible. It's in a body. So therefore, what you could get a rate. You could only get what you could get is very limited. When this spiritual life is not limited to a body anymore, now you could get much more. You could get the essence. Not only that, but this neshama is not just the neshama. It's not just that now that this neshama is unlimited, but this neshama goes back to its source, and it's the source of the neshama from under the Kisei HaKavod that actually is that actually comes down into all the worlds and into this physical world. So you're getting not just quantity, not just that you're getting more before you're able to get a ray, now you're able to get from this essence, but rather you're also getting quality. You're getting a different quality because now you're getting the neshama how it is from at its source before all the shtalshalos for it to come down here. It says for a tzaddik.
I'm thinking the same thing.
But,
Is it a tzaddik like tiny tzaddik or a tzaddik and like our type of tzaddik?
So look, we're all tzaddikim. We're all tzaddikim. And the fact is that when a person passes away, they're not gone.
Says they're on the second floor. They just moved up a floor. That's what that ever said.
And that's what we said becomes a yard site. We say that the neshama should be a good advocate for all the people, for all its family down here, and the neshama lives on forever. But obviously, as good as it is for regular people like us, you know, for regular people, that they could be present for their families and daven for their families and watch over their families. from heaven, how much more so, or I don't know, that can be compared, but a tzaddik, a Moshe Rabbeinu, how much more so. I mean, it can't be compared, but the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu can't be compared to to the toenail neshamas. But in any case, it's an incredible thing. Because again, we're judging by what we could see. If we can't see the tzaddik anymore, we feel orphaned and we feel like the tzaddik is gone. But what we're learning now is that the tzaddik is so much more present, and what level of the tzaddik is present, the source from where the neshama came from. Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Like I understand the concept, but how is it showing up in like regular life? Like,
Excellent question.
Excellent question.
That's where we're headed.
I think it's also how do we obtain this way?
Okay.
What was the question?
Like how do we get this?
The question is, how do we see this in real life? Okay, it's very nice, in theory. Okay, but obviously we want we want tzaddikim down here physically alive that we could go and ask them for brachas and ask them for advice, and the fact that the tzaddik's in heaven and spiritually is present, how does that help me? How does that help me in my life? Okay, so we're going to continue. Okay. So the neshama itself, the neshama of a tzaddik goes back to his essence, which is beyond revelation. Okay, so essence and revelation are two opposites.
Essence is the part that he's saying revelation is.
Essence is who you are, and revelation is how you show yourself to the world. For example, you wake up in the morning, okay? You're in your pajamas. Then you have to go to a class. So or you want to go to the gym, or you want to, wherever you want to go. So if you're going to the gym, you're going to put on one type of clothes. If you're going to go to a class, you're going to put another type of clothes. If you're going to go to a wedding, a bar mitzvah, you'll put another type of clothes. So there's me, my essence, who I am, and there's how I present myself to the world, how I reveal myself, how I speak, what I say, what I do, how I act, how I dress. That's the revelation. But how I reveal myself, how I present myself to the world. But I could present myself in a way that's not really who I am. I could say whatever I could say whatever it is to be liked. Or you could, what you say doesn't have to be what you really believe. That not necessarily is it you. Your essence is you, and then there's how I portray myself to the world, how I'm seen by the world. But the essence is deeper. The essence is deeper than what I wear. So essence cannot be seen. When you wake up in the morning and you're in your pajamas, that's you for yourself. You're not ready to reveal that part to the rest of the world. This Shabbos, I was upstairs and someone came to our Chabad house. I hadn't come for 5 years. And she walks in and she says, "Hello, stranger," and on my pajamas upstairs, and I was like, "Oh, just a minute, I'll be right down," But I'm saying I wasn't coming down in my pajamas, I was going to first make myself presentable, and that's it. So there's a part, my privacy. This is where that's not okay for the rest of the world. It's who I am. And then, okay, I'll put on a sheitel and I'll be a rebbitzin and I'll come downstairs and I'll, whatever. Okay, so etzem of Hashem cannot be seen. What could we see? We could see giluyim, a revelation, an emanation, a ray, that you could see. So Hashem reveals himself, manifests himself so that we can gain access, but it's not his essence.
So he manifests himself to the people.
Yes, Hashem reveals as Hashem, so Hashem manifests himself, but you're not getting Hashem's essence. In this world, we're not getting Hashem's essence. So you could ask a question, you could say, oh, if after a tzaddik passes away, he's so unlimited, then at least we should still be able to have him in a physical body if he's so unlimited. But so why is there a limitation that we don't actually have him in a physical way? And the answer is because at that point, the tzaddik goes to a place of etzem. He goes to a place of essence, and essence cannot, a place of essence, the essence itself cannot be revealed in this world. You could have an emanation that comes from the essence, but the essence itself is different than Giluyim. Giluyim is what comes from the etzem, but you can't have etzem itself. You can't have the sun itself in this world. You could have its rays. You can't have the sun itself. So if once the tzaddik passes away and it goes back to his essence, then we can't see it physically because the essence is too high. It's too high. It's too great to come down here.
It's a stronger Tselem Elokim than that.
So on one hand, we don't have the physical part, but on the other hand, we're getting something so much greater. So the tzaddik goes to a place of atzmut, essence, which is above Giloy, which is above revelation, and therefore we're not able to see him. On the other hand, this atzmut, although it's not revealed, is present in this world. So these terminologies, that's why I was like, I don't know that I could teach this, but because I went to this production and it was so clear, essence, the essence of this girl, and then the coverings, the wrappings, the beautiful glittery clothing and the tiara and everything else. So that's all the revelation, and then there's the essence. So when you go back to essence, when the tzaddik goes back to a state of essence, then the essence itself is too high to be expressed and to be revealed. So on the downside is that we lose the revelation, that we don't see anything physically. But the pro is that the energy that's present is atmos, is essence, which is so much greater than revelation. It doesn't mean to say that we're happy with the situation. We obviously want, we want Moshe Rabbeinu, we want the tzaddikim down here in a physical way, but at least to know that when you turn to a tzaddik, it's not that they're far away somewhere in the sky and they can't hear you or give you advice or guide you, but rather there's something so much greater that's going on. Okay. Something so much greater that could be accomplished after in the tzaddiks after the tzaddik's passing. Okay, so there's something that's going on that's more possible after the tzaddik passes away than during his lifetime. And if you look around the world, you could see this. Sorry, that's my phone. Okay. Okay. Let's just take the Rebbe because it's the easiest example. So in the Rebbe's lifetime, there was a lot of opposition to Hasidus, Chabad, for sure. But it's very, very interesting that after his passing, what he stood for is what he stood for affects the entire world in an unprecedented way. Suri was telling me, she says, oh, there's a 11:30 at night on Thursday night in Jackson, there's a Tanya class for men, given by someone who's not Chabad. The fact that people that are not Chabad or don't have any connection to Chabad are into outreach and are able to look at another Jew, look at their etzem, and are able to innovate all different kind of kiruv programs and all this kind of stuff. It's not just, one day a person woke up with a brilliant idea, but rather there's this atzmos, there's this essence of the Moshe Rabbeinu that's revealed in this world, and it affects the entire world in such an incredible way. You can't see it, you can't touch it, it's not tangible. But the fact that we have this class, we have 2 Tanya classes in Lakewood, maybe even one in Jackson in Suri's house. But the fact, I'm saying, 20 years ago when we came here, when we came to Tom's River, I was pushing a baby in the carriage, and I had a shir lamales, which is like protection for the baby, and the other side I had a picture of the Rebbe. I was in the grocery store, and someone came up to me and said, you should really put that away. She actually said you could get stoned. That's what I was told 20 years ago. You could get stoned by walking around with this. That's what someone said to me when Rachi was a baby 20 years ago. So I'm saying, but today, so many of these walls are gone. The fact that people are so receptive. My husband gives two Tanya classes a week, Monday night by our Chabad house and Tuesday night in Lakewood. I'm saying this wasn't, this wasn't so common years ago, and definitely not in the time in the Rebbe's lifetime. But the Rebbe is able to accomplish so much more than in his lifetime, because what's shining is not just a revelation, a gilui, but rather its essence. And when the essence is shining in this world, shining is not good. When the essence is present, because shining is a gilui, sorry. When the essence is in this world, in all the worlds, and in this world, it affects everyone and everything. So in a way, the Rebbe is able to accomplish so much more. That so many, and you could listen to any speaker, and it's all loaded with Hasidus. And this is a newer phenomenon that didn't exist before.
It's also interesting around Chal also. They abandoned him when he was alive. Only after he died did people accept him. And same thing with Derek Shimshon. They found his stuff. So many people, they see that while they were alive, and it wasn't until after.
So interesting.
Revelations came out. From Chal also, he was banished. He ran away at 40 years old, and they accepted him afterwards. Then a lot of the people, like they used to read their histories, they weren't accepted when they were living. It was afterwards.
There's some American rabbanim.
A lot of it's like amazing.
So much of their life to be here.
Yeah, and then also,
and he just couldn't make it, and he was just a firm guy who wanted to establish from schools, and he just couldn't do it. When he died, they're like, "Wow."
It's like the same.
It's very interesting. Come to think of it, any person who passes away in their lifetime, they're a regular person. The second someone passes away, all of a sudden, we find all the good.
Because people really do accomplish. However, my father passed away, and I remember I was talking to my sister-in-law. She goes, "You make him sound like he's so perfect." I'm like, "He's not perfect, but he was my father." Now it's 11 years later. She goes, "Tell me some stories about him. He was really such a great guy." I'm like, "Thank you very much. It's really nice that it took you 11 years and he's not bothering you with certain things right now, so you're able to appreciate him differently, But I guess also you mature. So it's like from 30 to 40, you see what that person was accomplishing, but you couldn't see it then,
But also, that's from our perspective, but every single yid, it says the Amech Kulam Tzadikim, every single yid, when Neshama passes away, I'm sorry, when the person passes away, they go back to their essence, okay? And now when essence is shining, then you're able to tap into something deeper, and the petty things fall away. You're able to zoom in and to see the good qualities and the greatness of the person. So it's true for sure for, we're talking about a tzaddik, but
they revealed to other people which weren't really him. People show sides of them, not really their essence in the real life. When we come in, we show the fit, right? And then when they die, you just remember the essence. You see the essence.
Yeah. The essence shine. Because the essence is who you really are. The fact that a person got into an argument or whatever it is, that's not who they are. Who they are. They're neshama. So of course you can only see the good. So of course we see miracles all the time. But but the miracles that we do see are a teeny tiny fraction of the fact that the Atzmos is here. So here's just a cute story that happened in our Chabad house. So my husband's teaching a Tanya, and this man, not Chabad, he's sitting at a Tanya class and tells my husband the following. He says that during COVID, his wife was watching a video about how to make sourdough bread. And she started making sourdough bread, and it was very, very successful, and she started selling it. And it was like a business. It was very profitable. It was very good. Then something happened. After they already had a clientele that people were interested in their sourdough, all of a sudden something happened, and for some reason, the sourdough wasn't working. It wasn't coming out. I don't know the details, but it wasn't working. So he has this potential business and doesn't know what to do. So this individual has a cousin who had an unhealthy child. And this cousin went to the aisle of the Rebbe and made a achlata that he's going to learn Chassidus, not necessarily Chabad, he's going to learn Chassidus 5 minutes a day. And in this merit, he's asking that his child shall have refuah shlema. He took upon himself the achlata, and lo and behold, a miracle, the child became better. So this guy says, I'll go to the aisle. I'm going to do the same thing. If it could work to make a child healthy, for sure it could help with the sourdough.
So business, we talk about sourdough, but it's the person's business.
So he goes to the aisle and he makes a achlata that he's going to learn Chassidus for 5 minutes a day. And sure enough, miracle, the sourdough started working again. And now he had so much business that it was already like, I don't know if he does have a storefront or whatever, or he sells to other stores, whatever it is. So now that he's selling to other stores, he needed to have a branding. He needed to have a name for it. So someone said to him, why don't you just call it Lechem? So he was thinking about it. Lechem. He was thinking about it. Then he was remember he has to learn Chassidus for 5 minutes a day? So he happened to be learning Parak Hey of Tanya. And Parak Hey of Tanya, it says, V'lachein nikra lechem v'mazein, and therefore Torah is called bread, lachem. So he says that this business was benched by the Rebbe, and it was named by the Alter Rebbe. Lachem. Okay, so now you know why.
You know his stores? It's right here. The big storefront.
Okay, so you open the storefront. There you go.
Oh, you don't know?
No, I
If you don't want to make salary, get his. And he's a Hasidic guy. He's not even like, he's Hasidic.
Okay, I don't know. I didn't meet him, but he was in our, he was in our he was in at my husband's planning class upstairs, they said.
Like he just brought the Rebbe's into his.
So I'm saying he went to the ayal. He asked for a bracha. He took upon himself a achlata to be a keli for the bracha. So this is one teeny tiny personal story, and there's millions of them. It says about the Maggid of Mezrich that there were so many miracles, they were rolling under the table, no one even bent down to pick them up. So of course there are so many miracles that are happening, but it's not that the miracles, it's not the miracles don't define the essence. There's so much more. When you're talking about essence is essence. Of course, when you have essence, there's gonna have to be some kind of revelation. There's gonna have to be some miracles. But essence, by definition, is the opposite of revelation. So even when things don't go well, or when things don't, well, I should say things don't seem to go well, and you don't see the miracle all the time, it's still, the essence is still there. And you still have, you're still able to turn to go to the ayel, to turn to the Rebbe, to ask for a bracha, that, just because you don't see, just because it's, again, what we see can be so deceiving. It can be so deceiving. And only later, could be days, could be hours, days, months, years, when you see how the pieces of the puzzle come together and you see how that experience or that thing that happened that you really didn't think was so wonderful, how that was a necessary part for something much greater. The essence is there. And it's so comforting to know that the essence is there, that even when you don't have the revelation, even if you don't see the miracle, even if you don't have the revelation, the fact that you could know that the tzaddik is so much more present, and not just in a way of a miracle, but rather you could tap into the essence itself. So now going back to the parsha, why is it that when it comes Zayin Adar, when it comes the parsha that's most closest to Zayin Adar, we want to show that the histalkos of Moshe Rabbeinu, and we say there's a Moshe in every single generation, right? So why is it, Taka, that the name is not mentioned, that the name Moshe is not mentioned? The answer is that a name of a person is not the etzem. It's connected to the etzem, but it's not the etzem. As a matter of fact, a baby could be born, and they don't get a name if they're a boy, not until 8 days later, or until a girl a day or two later when there's the next Kriyas HaTorah. And they're alive, even if they don't have a name. A name is, why do you have a name? For someone else to call you by it. But you don't need a name in order for you to live. If you are living on an island all by yourself, you don't need a name in order to live. A name is a gilui. A name is that someone else should be able to call you. And a child, from the second they're born, they're an ear. That means that if the father passes away, they would inherit, they would inherit an inheritance, even without a name. You don't have to have a name in order to exist. So in this week's parsha Tetzaveh, what happens when a tzaddik passes away? The revelation, the gilui, is gone. The name is gone. But what do you have? You have the ata. You have the essence. The essence. And that's why in this week's parsha, it's va'ata tetzaveh. The beginning of the first words of the parsha, and the name of the parsha is it's va'ata tetzaveh. And you should command, because you is essence. It's teaching us. This week's parsha is teaching us that when a tzaddik passes away, when there's a Zayin Adar, so yes, you might not have the revelation, but you have the essence. And that's why Moshe's name is not mentioned in this week's parsha, because the name is not the essence. The name is connected to the essence, but it's not the essence. You could exist without a name, especially Moshe Rabbeinu. Well, Moshe Rabbeinu, the name Moshe was given to him by Batya when he was 3 months old. Because from the water she drew him out. She was the one he was called Tuvia by his parents. But the name Moshe, he got at 3 months old. For 3 months, he was alive. You don't need a name to exist. A name is something more external, and something that I could call you. It's considered a revelation versus essence versus etzem, which is essence, and that's why Moshe's name is not here to show us what truly happens when there's a stalkos, when there's a passing of a tzaddik, that it's the essence that actually is present.
But isn't also the name is also kasha?
Yes, the name is very, very special. And it says that the letters of your name, through that comes the chayis. Through the letters of your name come your life force. And if a person is in a faint, you call their name. The name is connected to the essence, but it's not the essence itself. A name is very special.
Did Moshe have a bris before?
It says that he was born with a bris.
So didn't Didn't they know he was Jewish? Like Paro didn't Paro know?
They knew.
They figured it out, so it was in the box, a Jewish boy, but
That's part of the miracle.
the father let his daughter have, spoil it, she wanted to raise him, gave it to her.
Yeah.
They say even Paro knew, but that's
That's
part
what
of
I'm saying.
the miracle, that he grew up in Paro house as a Jew. And
So a name, what's the purpose of a name? So that I could talk, a name is a way to identify someone, that you could talk about them. But when Moshe passed away, Moshe was elevated to a level that's above the usage of his name, and therefore his name is not in the parsha. And although the tzaddik is not here physically, but the etzem of the neshama can still be addressed, and he's still standing and serving with his entire essence.
sorry.
No problem. Thank you for coming. So Shem, the name, that refers to Gilui, revelation, and Etzem is above a name. Okay. So Adkan, till here is this point. Now we're going to talk about gematrias. So we know there's Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Said. So Remez hints that we could learn Torah in a way of Remez with gematrias, and we're going to see a few gematrias here to continue proving this point. So this entire parsha, the entire parsha of Tetzaveh, is all connected to this concept of going above a name and going above the concept of a name, which is etzem, which is essence. How do we see this? So before we proceed, we just have to understand that gematria is not a joke, and it's not something that we can make up. We can't just make up gematrias, but rather, when things are spiritually connected to each other, then b'meila you'll see that the gematria also adds up. But it's not that any person who wants could just make up a gematria. What? Yeah.
They do, but you realize that my husband has a program. End of the day, it is being connected, because what are they doing? They're taking this amount, these numbers, and they're pulling it into the parsha, into the something, into a Hebrew verse, and relaying it. So it kind of connects the people to the words.
So once you have two concepts that you could prove, where you have a source to prove that they're connected, then you can make a gematria. But first they have to be connected, and then you can make a gematria. The concepts first have to be connected in order for it to be a true gematria. There has to be a common theme, and then it will express itself in a gematria. And okay. So this concept of gematria is actually the lowest level within Remez, because you're going down to numbers. And if something has a gematria of whatever number it is, then the number shows on how much kaiches, how much powers this thing has. So when it's coming all the way down to numbers, it's really, you're really bringing it down all the way down when you're talking about numbers. Okay. Okay, so here we could go into, I named my daughter Shira. Before she was born, my grandfather passed away, and I was very, I should say no. Okay. So my grandfather passed away, and I was very, very close to him. And then I gave birth to a baby girl, and I really wanted to honor him. My grandfather's name was Shmuel Isaac. It's not like he could just find a feminine, And I tried Googling, and anyway, long story short, we named her Shira, and we named her on Shabbos Shira, and Shira is exactly the gematria of Shmuel Isaac, who's my grandfather. It's 515, which is also Veschanan and also Tefillah. That's a story in itself.
That people end up doing it, we do connect it to different things.
Yeah. So when I did the gematria, I didn't know this concept that you can't just make up whatever you want. But obviously,
It connects.
Yeah. Yeah.
My niece is Shiva from Shabbos Shiva also.
Wow. Okay, so what is the connection between the Stalkos, the passing of Moshe Rabbeinu, and Parshas Tetzaveh? Okay, and the Rebbe says that it's so obvious It's like it's so obvious, it's so in your face, these gematrias. So Tetzaveh, what's the gematria of Tetzaveh? Taf is 400, Tzadik is 90, Vav is 6, and Hey is 5. So what is it? 501. Tetzaveh is 501. And Tetzaveh represents essence, which is above a name. It says, we learned this in Tanya, that between each rakia, there's 7 heavens. We learned in between each rakia, there's a 500 years of travel. So it says that Hashem traveled from rakia down to this earth 500 years to acquire for himself a name. But 501 is above a name. Tetzaveh is above a name. Hashem traveled 500 years to acquire for himself a name. That's 500. 501 shows above a name. And therefore, the name of the parsha, the gematria of Tetzaveh, is 501, which is above 500, which is above a name. That we should know him. Okay. What it means is that Hashem traveled down 500 years so that he should be revealed for us to be able to call him. The fact that we say Hashem, to be able to call him by a name. So that's 500, and 501, which is Tetzaveh, is above a name, which is what happens when there's a stalkos, that Moshe, the tzaddik, is elevated to a level above a name, which is Atzmos. Okay. Also, Asher, the Shevet Asher, is also 501. Asher comes from Osher, which means there's Asher with an ayin and Asher with an aleph. Asher with an ayin is wealth. Asher with an aleph is pleasure. So the level of pleasure connects to the essence of a person, and that therefore it's 501. So you have seichel, midas, which means intellect, emotions, and then above that you have ratzain, which is will, and above will you have tainug, which is pleasure. That is essence, and that is 501, and the Asher is 501. By the way, Yud Aleph Nisan, which is the Rebbe's birthday, we know we say the Nasi on every day of Nisan, the first 12 days of Nisan. Which Nasi brought the carbon on Yud Aleph Nisan, which is the day of the Rebbe's birthday? Asher. Okay, by the way. Okay. It says, okay, every neshama has 5 parts. Nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, yechida. And we always say that yechida is the essence. But here, from another perspective, what we learn is that nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, yechida, even though it's yechida, it's still a name. There's 5 names for the neshama. So it says, Chamisha Shemais Nikrula. The neshama has 5 names. Yechida is still one of the names. So each of these 5 names, I'm saying each Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, Yechida, each one is comprised of 10 levels, which are the 10 spheros. And then you have the 10 spheros, each one has to include all the other spheros. So basically, you have 5 times 100 is 500. So there's 500 levels or 100 levels per, everything is 100 levels because it's 10 times 10 spheros, each one how it's comprised of the other 10. So now you have 100 per level of the neshama, so you have a total of 500, which is all names of the neshama. 501 is above names, is essence. And then one more gematria. At the end of every parsha, if you look, it will tell you how many psukim each parsha has, and they'll also give you a hint to remember. So the parsha Tetzaveh has 101 psukim. And the siman is Michael, but we're not going to discuss Michael as much as we're going to discuss the 101. What's between 100 and 101? 100 shows on completion. 10 times 10, 10 spheres, how each one's included in the other. 101 is above the shtalshalos, above it's above the natural order of things. And also in Tanya and Parak Tetzaveh, it speaks about people that will learn Torah 100 times versus 101 times. If you learn 101 times, that's what makes you so great. That one extra over what everyone else was doing. In those days, it was common to learn 100 times. 101, that's when you go beyond your capability. That one more one is not included in the count. It's higher. Okay. Almost done. Okay, so as we said, the gematria is the lowest level. When we're talking about learning Torah, gematria is the lowest level because it comes all the way down to gematria, down to numbers. And even in gematria, and we're learning from a gematria, we're learning about the etzem. We're learning about the essence from a gematria because essence is so great that it could come down so low. So even from the gematria, we could learn about this concept of the etzem, of essence, in this week's parsha from the word Tetzaveh, which is 501, and from the amount of psukim in this parsha, which is 101. So the highest revelation is revealed in the lowest, darkest, distant point, which is all the way down to gematria, to show how high the etzem is. Because etzem is so high, it could only come. The only way it could come down is through gematria, like we find with Mashiach and all. When you have very, very great lights, they have to come down in a like a back door kind of way, like the ancestry of Mashiach with Yehuda, with Tamar. It seems all shady. It has to come it has to be revealed in a way that doesn't look so clear and right and true. And the same thing with the gematria. From the gematria, that's how you learn. That's how you learn about the etzem, about this essence. Okay, so the greatest darga, the highest level, has to come. The greatest darga, the highest level, has to come through the biggest helem, through the biggest concealment. And that's where we are. We're at a place where we're in the biggest concealment. But we have to realize that just like in Mitzrayim, they was such concealment. They were working so hard as slaves, and there was no hope for redemption. And then it came. And then it came. So yes, we're living in we're in a situation where we don't have the Rebbe in a revealed way, and there's so much concealment around us. But we have to realize that just because we don't see doesn't mean that the essence isn't there and that we could touch it and it's present and we could tap into it. And we shouldn't feel disillusioned by what we see, because it's all Helem and Hester, and it's the Helem, it's the darkest moment, and it's to the greatest light can only come down through the Helem. But anyway, we had enough Helem, and we should be zeicha that before we read Parshas Tetzaveh, we should actually see the revelation of the etzem. We should have the gilui of the etzem, of the essence.
What's the best way to access it in this world, like where we could do?
So the best way to
going to environment, like say,
the best way to do it is by learning the Rebbe's teachings, which is what we're doing now. When we learn his teachings, we're connecting with the Rebbe, and we're starting to see things from his perspective. And in his lifetime, he could talk and demand and encourage every single day, every single year, for years and years. But then, when there's a Salkus, then it's a whole different level where the Rebbe is able to not just encourage his own Hasidim, but he's able to have an impact on the entire world, that the whole world should, a mind shift, should be able to view another Jew differently and to be able to appreciate Hasidus. And what the Rebbe wasn't able to accomplish in his lifetime, he's accomplishing by having his essence in this world. And I think it's, I think, as I was learning this, it was already after 11 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm not done preparing, but I stopped. And I said, it's a new phone. So I had to download the documents. I had to download the OHEL app. And I stopped in the middle of my preparing. And I said, no, the first thing I'm going to do, because every week I ask for a blessing for this to teach, to understand. I specify Chelek Chavav, Parshat Tetzaveh, Sicha Beis, that I should be able to understand it and teach it and write a poem for it, etc. So I stopped in the middle of learning. I downloaded the OHEL app on my new phone to tap into the essence. When you tap into the essence, you're able to really get incredible brachos. And this past week, I was trying to write a poem and I wasn't going. I didn't finish writing it until Friday morning. But when you and it seemed impossible. How am I going to do it? And it's such a difficult concept or whatever it was. But as soon as you tap into essence, then the impossible becomes possible, because essence is unlimited. Essence is infinite. So I think it's the knowledge, just the mere knowledge. And this is new to me. Okay, of course I know, the Rebbe's here more than before, but it was all words. It didn't really mean anything. But after, thanks to you, that I'm learning this, that I'm coming here to share with you, just the mere knowledge, that when a person goes to the OHEL or writes a letter to the Rebbe on their phone, download the OHEL app, just the knowledge that it's not that, of course, we don't see with our physical eyes and that's what we want, but it's not that we're, in a certain sense, we're able to get greater brachas. We're able to get greater energy, to tap into things that we could tap into infinity. And it's just, we would never know this unless we learned this. And these teachings were sitting on the shelf. You know when this was said? It was said in Tavshim Aleph. It was said in 1981. It was since 1981. This teaching was taught. Now we're 2025. It's some 44 years later. Okay, I was born 1980, so whatever. But I'm saying it's so many years later, and now these teachings are becoming accessible to us in English, and so many shiurim, so many rabbis teaching it. So when the Rebbe spoke, and all these teachings were printed, they were sitting nicely on the shelf. What took this project of the Sichos from three people on a telephone to make this project where the whole world where project of the Sichos, where the Rebbe's teachings are so accessible and so in 7 different languages, in so many different shiurim, 10-minute shiurim, an hour shiurim, men, women, different, where does that come from? Where do you get that power from? It's from the essence. It's from the essence. We have to realize where things are coming from. It's not just happen to be. There's a lot of power that's that's within our reach. It's within our reach. And things that we think are impossible, things that we think we can't do. When we tap into essence, we could. This production that we went to yesterday, it was done by the high school, and the one who ran it was a 20-year-old girl. Incredible. There was not one flaw to the entire production. But the whole production, what was it teaching us? It was teaching essence. It was teaching etzem. Yafa was with me. It was teaching essence. You saw this girl on the stage, not knowing where she belongs. The father, the Egyptian father and the Jewish mother. And the whole thing was depicting etzem. It's not about the clothing that you're wearing. and they obviously had tremendous brachas. There was not one mistake. It was to perfection. Because when you tap into essence, everything is possible.
I get sometimes I think it pops up on my phone. I get from and I do get letters sometimes that really match to. Very clear.
But you know what?
Extrapolating.
I know, but I think that if we have the mindset that we have essence, and we could tap into it, then I think that the change of mindset will bring such incredible clarity. Because between me and you, when I write a letter, is it really, of course, I see the brachas. Yeah, it feels one-sided. Okay, let's say that. But when you have the knowledge of what really is happening, of what the truth is, then your emunah when you write is on a whole different level. And when the emunah is on a higher level, then the answers will be on a different level as well.
What's this writing letters and getting answers?
It's not about.
Is that what I thought it was about?
So I'll explain.
Also,
When-
when you go to the aisle with writing letters, I say the whole concept, like people like really, they're answered, like open that book,
When I go into the English, yes, I used to get answers.
you did?
But when I'm just writing to the past, I'm waiting for an answer. Like sometimes it'll come up on my phone. It will pop up and I'll be like, wow, I just got an answer. But I would like for that to always be the case. But like you said.
So you see, we would like it for always to be the case, but the thing is, when you're talking about essence, you're not always going to have the revelation. You will have revelation because you can't have etzem without revelation. It's just, it's bound to happen. Okay, but just to explain this concept of, you see, we have to tap into the essence. We have to tap in and ask for a bracha. And then the Rebbe will find his way to answer you. There's this Hachayal magazine that we get every single week for the kids bring home from school. I could bring it here and you'll see. You'll see. The Hachayal magazine is stories. It's basically stories that kids submit. And we have to do our part, and the Rebbe will find his way to answer. You have to write a letter. You have to write and connect and ask for a bracha. This concept of opening up Igros Kodesh and reading a letter and say, that's my answer, that there's no source for. Where did it come from?
Write a letter from that?
There's an oil app, and you could write your mother's name and your name and your mother's name, and you could write a letter and you click submit. End of story. You did your part. Where did it stem from? In the olden days, a chassid. What was the chassid's name? Was it Reb Mendel Futterfass? A chassid stuck in, I think it was Reb Mendel Futterfass. He was stuck in Siberia. He was stuck in jail in Russia, in Siberia, and it was his birthday. And he wanted to write a letter to the Rebbe, but he didn't have a pen. He didn't have a paper. He didn't have a postage stamp. He had no way of writing a letter to the Rebbe. And he wrote a letter to the Rebbe in his machshava, in his thought. And his family, who had escaped Russia, was living in England. And they received a letter from the Rebbe, was mailed to their family in England as an answer to the letter that he wrote the machshava in his thought. And the one who says this, there's actually there's actually a video for children in Yiddish, actually. Rabbi Derin from Connecticut says that he moved, he was on shluchos. I'm not sure exactly which location it was. Maybe it was before he moved to Connecticut, I think. And he wanted to make a big concert to say the Jewish people should come out and the awareness for Chabad and everything like that. And the concert was supposed to be on Sunday. And on Friday, and there was 1,000 seats 1,000 seats in this auditorium. And on Friday before the concert, he calls up the venue and he asks how many tickets were sold. And they said, I don't know exactly what number it was, 46. I don't know, it was a very amount, 46, let's say, tickets were sold out of 1,000. And he was so worried. He was so worried, what's going to be? And then comes Shabbos. And he was thinking about this, the Chassid in Russia, sending a letter to the Rebbe in his thought. And he couldn't write, it's Shabbos. And they didn't have, I don't know if they had fax machines in those days, I don't know. But anyway, it was Shabbos, and he was sitting by the window, and he wrote a letter to the Rebbe in his mind. He said, Rebbe, please save me. Yeah, I'm going to be in such debt if only 46 people come to this. If I only sold 46 tickets for this concert with there's 1,000 seats. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe in his mind. The next day came Sunday, and there were so many people came out to the concert. Every single seat was taken. Rabbi Derin's, I believe his mother, went to the Rebbe for Yechidus of that week or a short time after. And the Rebbe asked, how was the concert? And why did Rabbi Derin, why did he have to worry so much? Mm-hmm. So, and that's in the Rebbe's lifetime. So we're very lucky. We're very lucky to be sitting here and to have learned this teaching and to know that we're not alone. We're not alone.
You know, I used to feel bad because as a girl, I told you, I was afraid to go see the Rebbe. I was afraid because he's going to see all my sins. And so I didn't go. And I used to feel so bad, but now it made me feel bad because I get a positive bad. Maybe I was supposed to connect to him on this level. Maybe had I been there physically, it would have blocked something that I'm getting now.
We're definitely connecting to Rebbe's essence by learning his teachings. 100%. 100%. So 5 minutes, if the achlata of learning Chassidus for 5 minutes a day, if it helped for the sourdough, and if it helped for for a healthy child, then every single one of us, Hashem we should have the Rebbe's brachas, and Hashem should bench us. That whatever's on our heart, whatever's on our mind, whatever we need brachas for in every area of our life, shidduchim and health and parnasa and nachas. We did a lot more than 5 minutes of Chassidus today, and we're committed to learning every single week. It's been years, so we'll all have all the brachas in a revealed way in our life, and ultimately we should have the ultimate geula.
I mean, is this the app?
Yes.
So I was looking one day on Instagram, and there's this the Jewish Learning Institute, which is Chabad.
Yes, JLI.
So I didn't know, and I'm looking, and this woman gives Tanya, and from London, and she said she's a therapist. I was like wondering why she gives it, because and she gives Tanya every day. She was first a therapist, and she realized that a lot of what we learn is through Tanya. That's I realized through the teaching is literally what the essence, like when I learned your Tanya, it's like amazing. So like it's true, like as I learned Tanya is really what we know as therapists, it's amazing. We were saying that she was first a therapist, she is a therapist, second therapist, and it connected that, which is true. Because she's a therapist and Tanya, she actually is Tanya every. But it really is like when I learned Tanya, that's what got me to Tanya in the first place. And I went to social school, I would see stuff about like that Tanya, and like it is. It's inside a person, I also have a first cousin, I have a lot of first cousins. I have a first cousin, big Chabad, my first cousin, and she comes in. They're like very like, and my father told me, my father's like little Rav Chaim Berliner. So my father, like sometimes even today, I haven't heard of my father. My grandmother also, my grandmother from Memphis, also was a Babish more. Wow. My father was more of a lifa, So my father would make comments to me about like, oh, they think they, he still has it in his head. My father, like,
thank you for coming. Like good.
There you go.
Talk about being grown up. I was growing up like I grew up like with my Babish were like very that big divide, Even though
but now, thank you for coming.
But now not.
Thank you.
Yeah. My grandma, but my father still had that old So like I remember my grandma used to come because I had cousins that I used to go to weddings in Chelek. My grandma she'd come from Memphis and she'd take me to Chelek.
Wow.
I shuffle along with her, like I don't know, on the porch because I had first cousins. But like when I met my father was very like it was like I felt like I was like I never understood it. So and then I grew up in the era of the Satmar and the Chabad, and then Gardesky, you know the Gardesky family?
Yeah.
Very big Lubavitch family. Leitch and Tom Barrett passed away.
Thank you for
So
coming.
my mother was best friends with Leitch Gardesky, real Chabad, and my mother from 40 years. We're best friends with them until today.
Wow.
And every summer, my mother is a Bell spirit, and then they sat. My father-in-law and Bear, best friends, would argue the bed every Shabbos. My table was my whole married life was Sean Bear and the same porch. Come in, the best friends, and my father would like they had debates because that and but then I was always exposed to it, but now more and more. Like I'm talking the era of growing into like when I was younger, but now but this is true. Like everybody's talking about now it's like even to see between me and you. I don't want to say this to have Tanya in the heart of Lakewood.
Yeah,
That is like that is this would never happen to me 8 years ago. No, like I'm seeing that I'm seeing like what's going on over here? It's amazing,
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chami, for joining. Mazel tov to you.